Wow, with Bitcoin getting a strong bounce after dipping its toes right into the 8.8K area. This is a very bullish short-term sign for Bitcoin, specifically because we've been finding support at this 8.8K level for a substantial amount of time, going back all the way throughout May of this year. Higher low after higher low. Now, is this a very positive sign, guys? Or overall, is the momentum still bearish? Important to note that we have this massive wick here extending from 8,900 all the way up to 9,400 US dollars, getting us close on the 50-day green moving average here. However, where we got rejected was right here on this blue 21-day moving average, which I believe is much more important than the 50-day moving average. Overall, does this switch momentum, or are we still heading down? Wow, and we have altcoins across the board putting in some impressive gains, but what is next to come for altcoins and Bitcoin? Will Bitcoin take the lead, break 10K, and alts will follow, or is this just a fake out? Wow, and over the last 30 days, Bitcoin open interest has actually 10x'd. Huge. What does this mean for the market? From 35 million in total open interest to 373 million in just 30 days. As well as Bitcoin actually eyeing a 12K breakout in the short term. If it does, then we can absolutely scrap that inverse head and shoulders idea, because we will not be going to that 7K region if that would happen. Wow, and after bouncing right at the 8.9K area, Bitcoin has re-entered this smaller symmetrical triangle, which is a part of this more massive ascending triangle, and the breakout target of this to the upside is pretty big. We'll show you exactly where that would be on this chart. Wow, and most importantly, we actually got a daily close above this 7-year blue market structural line, guys. Very key. It's actually crazy that we closed right above and right on this line after dipping our toes all the way down to 8.9K. The short-term signs are actually much more bullish than they were 2 days ago. Is it possible that the bears actually have no momentum and don't even have the ability to get us into that low 8K or potentially high 7K region? Let's jump in. Wow, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to an extremely webisode of Bitcoin. We have some interesting charts to discuss today because we got a very, very strong balance at a very key level. You guys know, if you've been watching these videos, that I've been hoping for an 8.8K pullback, and yesterday technically we got that. Bitcoin bounced within $5 into that range. It went all the way down to like 8,895-ish before getting a bounce. So barely, but it did touch the 8.8K range and got a very strong bounce, as we're seeing here. Now what are the short-term signs showing, and what are the more longer-term time frames showing? Obviously, the weekly and the monthly, in my opinion, looks extremely, extremely bullish. But the only pullbacks we were looking at were in the short term. However, currently the momentum is very strong, and potentially indicating towards the upside as well. Altcoins across the board are performing pretty substantially well, so we have to incorporate that as well, guys. Options market interest is growing as well. So what does that mean? Fundamentally, institutions, guys, more and more institutional interest, which again can just be the final nail in the coffin of those lower price targets for Bitcoin, meaning we're most likely going to explode. Again, guys, institutions are getting in. They're super interested. And specifically, what does this bounce that we received over the last 24 hours really indicate for Bitcoin, guys? Again, the struggle is real overall. Bears and bulls are very evenly matched, but I think it's becoming very apparent that the bears just might not have enough to really push below 10K. Obviously, the bulls haven't had enough either, because we've failed to break 10K over the past few months substantially. We've failed to hold 10K and 10.4, 10.5K and hold it. So the bulls are failing on one front, but on the other front, the bears just don't seem to have enough to keep us from testing that area. So we're going to jump into that. We're going to jump into the charts there, guys. So as well, if you're new to the channel, we're going to be giving this a giveaway soon for the ledger. Make sure to leave your comment, your smash, your dings, and your subscribes, and we can jump into the webisode. Wowee! So let's actually take a look here, guys. We can just get a quick little update on this chart. This is very strong here because we've been below this. The only reason, first of all, that we broke this line, okay, you can see, let's go back just a few years, guys. You can see, for the most part, we just barely go below this line. We barely, actually, that's where we got that very strong bounce back in December of 2019 for that inverse head and shoulders that skyrocketed us to 10.4 over the next month. But the reason that we broke this, because we don't really break this line, the reason that we broke this 7-year line is because of what happened on March 12th with the global economy, with the crisis around the world. And you can see when we broke it, it was huge. Now, we've been playing around with this line for the past 3 months since then. But what we see now is that slowly, especially over the past month specifically, starting on like May 10th, we've just been finding support and being glued to this line right here. You can see many touches over the last month specifically. And today and yesterday, when we got that strong bounce there, going all the way down to, let's see here, exactly about 8,800-ish, right about here. On some exchanges went down a little bit lower than that, 8,800, like 95. But you can see here, we got the daily candle close above that, right around 9,300. Very strong bounce. And we'll take a look at that on some smaller time frames as well. But for the most part, very strong bounce. And now, again, we're currently above it. Now, we're not out of the woods at all because there's some key levels that we're going to be taking a look at. We can show you on some of these other charts here. Specifically here, you can see just how strong that bounce was. Okay, about 88.75 it looks like it went down to on this exchange, all the way up. And we actually closed above, well above 9,000. Now currently, and as well, we got to close above the 50-day green moving average, and we're getting rejected. You see, we got exactly rejected right here. This is literally exactly where, right at 9,600, basically 9,599, which is this blue 21-day moving average. So now we're in between these two, the 50-day moving average, the 21-day moving average. We're probably going to consolidate within these two. These moving averages right now are pretty important. And as well, these key levels of 92 and 8,800 are crucial for Bitcoin finding support there. Yet again, we found higher lows. Okay, here back on March 10th, and again for a few days back towards the last week of May. Sorry, May 10th, May 25th. And then as well, we found it here just this week in the very middle of June. So this is really big. We talked about the scenario that if we don't break 8.8K, then it's likely that we will never complete this inverse head and shoulders. So we've been talking about if we, basically our main level, we had 3 downside targets, one 8.8, then like the 7.6, and then the very lowest 6.4K. For ultimate pullbacks over the next few months, so longer term pullbacks. Now let's actually switch to this chart because the breakout target of this ascending triangle that we've just re-entered as of yesterday, we'll take a look at that smaller symmetrical triangle, but the breakout target of this is actually pretty substantial. It's around about $100 over 12K, so 12,180 roughly is what the breakout target of this would be. More than enough, much more than enough to break us above the 2.5-year green resistance here. Much more than enough to break us above the 10.5K historical for the past year resistance right about here. Okay, that's about 9 months of resistance right at that level. But specifically, guys, overall the most important thing on these charts is this green line, this resistance here going back to 20K all-time high for Bitcoin. So that's by far the biggest area. Specifically right now what we're testing, and actually just got another rejection off of within the last few 4-hour candles, is the top line here, this resistance right around that like $9,600 level. So again, that's exactly where we're getting squished and squeezed in between the symmetrical triangle, this bigger ascending triangle. Overall, right now what's most important is this triangle, because we're going to be confirming very soon if we can actually break this very strong resistance again, which I think will be very hard. That's why I'm a little hesitant yet. If we break the 9,000, about like 9,500 concretely here, that's a very good sign, because then I think we're definitely coming up to retest 10K again, and then that's when we could have a breakout to 12K. But I think that this level right here is actually, as of right now, a little less important than this right here, because this obviously is the first step, but this resistance is much stronger than the 10K. That sounds silly because 10K has been resistance for like 9 months, but this has been resistance for the past 2.5 years, this green line. It just happens to line up around like the 9.5K level right now. So if bulls actually have enough momentum to get above 9.5K, then I definitely think we're going to come up and retest 10K, and a concrete break above that, an actual break where we need volume coming in, we could break that by a lot. But I want to show you this, guys. You can see here, volume is still declining. We actually haven't had a real breakout. And you can actually see it. It kind of looks like maybe there was on these smaller time frames. But again, this is the 4-hour, and this is very zoomed in. It's not really, I mean, this breakdown was, a few $100s, but it's really not that much of a breakout. This, you can see on this chart, the last biggest breakout was like at the end of April, and that actually shot us above some key levels from like 77 all the way up, and that's when we touched 10K, and we've been touching that basically ever since then. So ever since then, this right here, you see the volume has just been declining. So we actually haven't had a breakout on this daily, more macro, zoomed out chart. So again, still no breakout. You can see the volume is still declining ever since the end of April. So no breakout yet. And we are going to get one soon. You can see when the volume is declining, guys, we are in some sort of consolidation pattern, and we will most likely get a breakout here to determine which way very soon. Again, we talked about our targets to the downside yesterday, and specifically to the upside. At this point, 12K is a very realistic breakout target because, again, touching 10.5K again is not a breakout because we just have too much resistance there. We've been touching that. We've touched it a few times over the past few months, and it's not, it's just a retest of some lower highs and like a triple topish pattern. There's really nothing substantial about failing at 10.5K again. If we break 12K and fail, which if we broke 12K, I don't think we would fail, but let's say we got to 12K and failed, that would still be a massive breakout, and it would change a lot of this longer term charting, and especially the shorter term. So overall, I wouldn't really be too interested if we just came up to 10K again. It's not that interesting. Breaking 10K and going to 12K is, on these longer term macro patterns, very substantial. So we got to watch out for that. Huge. And guys, I just wanted to highlight these points real quick. On CoinDesk by Zach Voel contributed this. CME Bitcoin's options market grew 10x in the past month. So I just wanted to highlight here, in 30 days, open interest on CME's Bitcoin options increased tenfold from 35 million to over 373 million in just 1 month. Okay. All-time highs were made on 6 consecutive days from June 5th to 10th, so just like a week ago. So what this does is signify growing interest by institutional investors, which is huge. It says here the CME actually has no plans to introduce additional crypto products. So right now it only involves Bitcoin. CME, which launched its Bitcoin options at the beginning of 2020, now represents 20%, taking a lot of Deribit's volume there. So CME's growth has come at the expense of Deribit. But then we also have competition derivatives here, like LedgerX backed OKX, and they've kind of changed the same since January, it says here. So very interesting. And as well, just real quick, William Suberg on Cointelegraph is also talking about 12K breakout. Makes a lot of sense according to some fundamentals. Huge, lot coming up this week. Again, I think we're going to see a decisive move here this week, especially within this smaller symmetrical triangle part of this ascending triangle. I think that depending on which way this breaks out, which will be very, very, very shortly, I'd say within the next 24 hours, it'll very much dictate if we're going to get a push to 10K to try to test 12K, or break substantially below 8.8 and definitely head down to the low 8,000s, potentially high 7,000s, if we get a concrete break below this level right here, especially 8.8, and then come down to this line we have on the chart here. Huge, guys. So make sure to enter for your ledger. We're going to be doing this giveaway soon. Just make sure to smash the comments, turn on the dings, hit that like button, and we can get into the next webisode. Peace.